Hi everyone, I'm Damien at Team Micro. This is Growth Hacking 101, the podcast for ambitious SMP and permanent makeup artists who want to get the very best out of their business. So without further ado, let's crack on with the episode. We need to talk, guys. We need to talk about where you get your customers from. Okay, this is becoming an increasingly important issue for a lot of artists, and we're seeing that because artists aren't thinking about where their customers are actually coming from and how that needs to change, they're getting caught out. And the reality is that the world is changing, the market is changing, the media platforms from which you've relied upon all these years are also changing, and it's becoming harder and harder for artists out there to make the switch because they get so heavily dependent on one particular channel, which makes it much harder later on to pivot the business and diversify where the clients actually come from. And for anyone who hasn't figured it out, I'm talking about Facebook. Our industry, particularly the permanent makeup industry, but also the SMP industry to a certain extent, has, in my opinion, a very unhealthy and dangerous relationship with Facebook. The entire industry is so dependent on Facebook for customers, or has been over a period of time. As Facebook have started to tighten the screw on artists in terms of what they can do and how much they have to spend to achieve a result, we've seen the permanent makeup industry start to really hurt as a result of those changes. And the bottom line is it's because permanent makeup artists were simply unprepared for the changes that were necessary. I'll give you an example. Once upon a time, Facebook Marketplace was a great place to get permanent makeup and SMP customers. Now, it's just not. There's very few people that can actually get away with posting in Marketplace now. But for all intents and purposes, the vast majority of artists will now find their posts have been removed whenever they try and put anything on Marketplace, right? So that's gone. I remember at the time, the number of artists that say 90% of my business has just vanished overnight. It is simply not healthy to allow any one media channel to hold that level of control and sway over your business. It's not right and it's not fair, but it's how it is. Another example would be before and after photos. So Facebook will not allow you to use before and after photographs in paid Facebook ads. And they justify this by saying that there's a body image issue here, and they're trying to protect people. But we know from Facebook's behavior that protecting people is really not very high up on their agenda. You've only got to look at the way they behave during the elections. You've got to look at the way they're trying to get TikTok banned in the US because a new competitor is on their doorstep that frankly does their job better. You've got to look at the way they kicked off at Apple when Apple started screwing down on privacy controls on iOS. Facebook does not have your best interests at heart, and we're expected to believe that they do on this issue. They don't. The bottom line is that a policy change, okay, or it could be that your Facebook page gets taken down, or it could be an issue with, it could be a hacking issue that Facebook are pretty inept at helping fix. These types of issues make your business extremely vulnerable. It's very similar to going back a few years when the eBay boom happened, and everyone who fancied themselves as an entrepreneur was on eBay with their own eBay shop, and eBay was just shutting these people down, and they were losing their businesses overnight. Amazon have done exactly the same. So it pays in any case to diversify where your customers come from, so that if the worst should happen, and you simply never know when it may happen, it pays to diversify your client acquisitions so that, if you do get taken down, then at least you've got somewhere else to obtain customers from. Now, I suppose the big question is, where should you get customers from? Where can you diversify to? And it's tough, because, Instagram is becoming harder and harder. There's so much demand for eyeballs on Instagram now. Trying to cut through the noise is tough. Instagram and Facebook are obviously owned by the same company, Meta. And as a company, they are making both Facebook and Instagram increasingly pay to play. So organic reach is dying, and it has been for a really long time. We've even seen in Facebook groups now, organic reach has dropped, to levels that we've never seen before. And Instagram is simply going to be no different. So I don't honestly believe for most artists that Instagram is the answer. If you have an existing established Instagram account and, you have a decent following and your engagement metrics are decent, then absolutely. But if you're just starting out on Instagram and trying to build that audience, it's so much harder than it was once upon a time, you know? So I don't think Instagram is necessarily the answer. I think for some artists, TikTok could be a solution. The majority of artists simply don't understand how to get the best out of TikTok. It's not an easy platform. You know, when you're trying to take what is ultimately an adult industry onto a platform that was designed for a younger audience. It wasn't designed for commercial purposes, and trying to kind of, that can be a little bit awkward, kind of trying to make that fit. So TikTok for some, if you get the platform and you feel that you can cut through on TikTok, then great. But for the majority of artists, I think that's going to be a tough one. There are outlying platforms that maybe are worth considering again. So you've got Reddit, you've got LinkedIn. Twitter is probably dead for now, but who knows? See what Elon Musk does with it. The platform that is the one that stands out, the elephant in the room that all you guys need to be focusing on, is Google. There's simply no two ways about it. Google is the place where people look for services specifically. They're not browsing, they're not messing around, they are looking for services, or they are researching services. In addition to that, Google has a couple of fundamental differences to social media channels. Firstly, it's not a social media channel. It's a way for the internet to be indexed. So it is a constantly evolving, constantly updating, almost like an archive of the internet as a whole that is searchable using their algorithm. So fundamentally, at the core of Google's business is the need to serve relevant, useful results to people that are searching, whatever they're searching for. So with that in mind, Facebook, for example, could turn around tomorrow and make the entire platform pay to play, 100%. So could Instagram, so could TikTok, they could all do it. Google can't. They never will make it 100% pay to play, because they rely on organic search results. They rely on their usefulness in order to retain their audience. So Google has that difference. Now, of course, as more and more artists discover the power of Google, it's going to get tougher. But we are still at a stage now. You know, we are the world's leading search engine optimization agency for permanent makeup and SMP artists. This is what we do. And hand on heart, because we know what we're doing, it's not actually that difficult. You know, if you run a microblading clinic in Miami and you need to be top of Google for microblading Miami, we can get you there. Now, in 5 years, 6 years, 7 years time, it might not be so easy. So right now, we're in a situation where not enough artists are trying to get to the top of Google to make it untenable that we could produce that as a result for you. And Google has one other thing that you need to bear in mind, and that is that you have first mover advantage. Once a clinic is seated in the top spots of Google and Google Maps, it's quite tough to unseat them. They have an advantage, an inherent advantage, because they've been there for longer. You see, one of the things that Google does is it will monitor the way that people behave when they actually go onto your website. So let's say you're a microblading company in Miami and they put you top of Google and people click on your site. Google will see how those people behave once they're on your site. So if people are behaving in a positive way, if they're spending a lot of time on your site, if they're ending up on your contact page or taking some kind of action, that tells Google that the user found what they were looking for, and they will continue to reward those websites with those rankings. Now, bearing in mind that for some of these people who run businesses who have been top of Google for a long time, Google has a ton of history to fall back on with that particular website for that particular company. So it's quite hard to unseat them. Whether you come to us or whether you go somewhere else, the message that I'm trying to get across to you guys is that right now you have an opportunity to get your positions claimed on Google. If you leave it another 2, 3, 4 years, it's going to get a whole lot harder, because Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, they are all becoming very much pay to play. And when artists start realizing that, and when they start struggling for customers, a lot of them are already doing so, but when they really start hurting, Google is going to be the place they're going to jump to, and you're going to have a lot more of a tough time getting to where you need to be. Okay, so Google is 100% where you need to be focusing, and now is the time to do it. If I've managed to convince you today that Google is what you need to be focusing on, I have a couple of resources for you that may help. The first thing is, at the end of March, we have a webinar coming up. It's a low-cost way for you to understand everything you need to learn about SEO from the perspective of a permanent makeup or SMP artist. This is completely tailored for you. I'll put the link down below. Click the link, sign up, come join us. If you're the type of artist who would rather not learn about this kind of thing, but would rather have somebody else to do it, then no problem. Just go to teammicro.com/SEO and have a look at what services we have to offer. But fundamentally, whether you come to us, whether you go somewhere else, we're cool either way. We just want to see the industry thrive. And right now, the best way to thrive is on Google. That's all for now. If you've enjoyed this episode, if you've had some value from it, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel if that's where you're watching us. Make sure you hit the bell icon so you get all of our latest notifications. If you're listening to us on your favorite podcast channel, then please subscribe to this channel. Whatever platform you're listening to this on, then please feel free to leave us a comment, ask a question, and we'll be more than happy to answer. That's all for now, guys. Thank you very much.